I saw the opportunity, of course, and I thought, wow, this is wonderful. But it was the fact that I would be able to be a blessing to a charity that made it really worthwhile.
Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today, and congratulations on winning the Compassionate Chronicle grant. So you are a short story writer, but amongst that, you are a teacher.
I am.
A retired teacher. What grades did you teach?
I taught multiple grades. I was an intermediate teacher, basically 4th, 5th, and 6th. Ended up at the end of my career, the last 12 years, 4th grade.
Okay. I was also told that you're a volunteer. Can you tell me a little bit about your volunteer work and with nonprofits?
Actually, in the nonprofit, I both volunteered and I worked as the director of an after-school program. I was able to build an after-school program and also to build a summer program for children who couldn't normally afford summer camp or after-school programs. And that was probably one of the highlights of my life. We were on the west side of Chicago, adjacent to Oak Park in Chicago, and those children in Oak Park had wonderful, wonderful summer and after-school programs. In the neighborhood that I was serving, they did not have them. And I was able to build programs that were similar to the ones I saw modeling after the ones in Oak Park. I was able to bring that to the community and for little or no cost to the parents. And so the children had a safe place to go and a safe environment. And I continued to do that for maybe 15 years.
Very nice. And what age range did you?
From kindergarten to age 13. Yeah, so from 5 to 13.
And how many kids participated in the program?
At different times. The program when I left was at 100 children. At its best, when we did it, it was 200 children. We had maybe 10 teens that we employed 10 teens, about 12 adults from the community, and we served 200 children.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That's wonderful work. Thank you for doing that. So we see that you're currently working on your master's degree?
I am at Columbia.
Creative writing?
Yes, I'm going for my master's in creative writing.
And how far into that are you?
This is my last academic semester, and I start my thesis in the fall.
Can you share what your thesis is going to be about?
Currently, it is called Sarah's Closet, and it is a story of a young girl who hears noises, and she thinks there are monsters in her closet. And she's trying to convince her mother that there are monsters in the closet, and her mother does not believe her. But her grandmother does, and her father does. And the turning point is that there really are monsters in her closet. They're demons. But thank God, her grandmother and her father are both Nephilim. They're angels. And they're going to save her from the demons.
Very nice. So let's move on to Words for Charity. When you first found out about Words for Charity, did you see an opportunity to be published in a curated collection or as a chance to use your talents and works to benefit a cause?
Actually, it was both. I saw the opportunity, of course, and I thought, wow, this is wonderful. But it was the fact that I would be able to be a blessing to a charity that made it really worthwhile.
And why did you choose Newborns in Need?
I chose Newborns in Need because I had my first child when I was 17 years old. And at that time, there weren't any organizations like Newborns in Need. So my son had to go without things because I couldn't afford them because I was 17. And there was nowhere to turn and no one to help me. So I thought it would be great if I could be a part of a charity that gave to those types of mothers.
Wow, wow, very nice. You've shared 2 stories with WFC, Afros, Bell Bottoms, and Bald Heads. Love that title, by the way, and Body of Work. Can we look forward to more stories?
Yes, I'm working on stories currently, trying to see if I can find one that I think is just perfect to submit and try again.
As you're refining your short story format, what do you enjoy most about the short story form and what sets it apart?
What I enjoy most is developing everything. You've got everything you have in a novel, but you have to put it together in the short story form. So you have to develop that character, you have to move that plot, and then you have to pull it all together in the end, and you're confined to a certain amount of space to do it in. That's the challenge of the short story, and I love it.
Beautiful. You're obviously a very accomplished writer, and writing can be difficult to start, let alone master. Have you got any tips for beginner writers or those who are just struggling to start or finish a story?
Yes, I would give them the same advice that I read from Walter Dean Myers. Just write. You have to get in, sit down, write it, let that story flow, get it down on paper, and remember that it's just a draft. Everything that you write doesn't have to be perfect the first time that you write it. Write it, get it done, leave it alone, let it simmer, then go back and do it again.
I've read both of your stories. Both of them are very different, beautifully written. Enjoyed both of them. I want to know, have you pulled from your personal life experiences for either one of the stories?
Yes. For Afros, Bell Bottoms, and Bald Heads, I kind of went back to my teenage years. So the setting is kind of where I grew up in Hyde Park. Kind of pulled you. Everybody is always a conglomeration of everyone you've ever met and everything you've ever done. So there's little bits and pieces that I pulled from my own life. I did actually shave my head. So it was like, yeah, I did. I actually shaved my head. And so that part I pulled from my own. And the rest is just a conglomeration of things. The characters in Body of Work are an amalgamation of people I've met as well. I have a thing about riding the bus and watching people on the bus. So you pull things like that from your own reality. I love to sit on the bus and people watch. And so my character likes to do that as well. So yeah.
Very nice. Well, with the first short story, Afros, Bell Bottoms, and Bald Heads, I related to it. I think any young lady can relate to it, so it's very applicable to any young lady who's kind of going through those acceptance struggles.
It is. It's kind of that friend thing, you know. You have your friends and sometimes that's just the way you feel. Like you don't quite fit in and you don't quite belong. And there's always an alpha female, you know, in every group there's always one. And so that was kind of what I wanted in that story. I wanted people to be able to relate to that and to relate to that individual and how she felt. And to say just what you did, like, yeah, I can remember being there and I can remember feeling that way, even if you didn't shave all your hair off in the midst of it.
Beautiful job. That was a beautiful work. So what kind of feedback did you get from your friends and family?
You know, my friends and family, I think I worry more about their feedback because their feedback is pretty general. Oh, it was nice. It was great. I loved it. But I worry more about what they might think because you're always concerned that people might see themselves in your work and maybe that wasn't really them. And you're like, no, that wasn't you. I wasn't talking about you. So that was kind of my fear. And I did not get that, and I'm glad.
Can you give future participants some advice on how you got friends and families and strangers to download your story and donate to your charity of choice?
What I did was I posted it. I posted it on Facebook, and then I had my friends and family began to share. So I would post it, and then they would share, and it would keep going that way.
As an author, was it easier to self-promote by having people donate to your favorite charity?
It was, because that was one of the things they would perk up when I would say, oh, well, you know, if you download the story, it goes to this charity. And then they were always more amenable to doing it once they found out that, oh, okay, well, that's good. That's a good cause. Yeah, we'll do it.
How do you see Words for Charity benefiting your brand?
It benefits my brand. It gets it out there. It gets me exposed. People see me more often. They see me in more places, you know. They will see it on Twitter, they'll see it on Facebook, they'll see it on Instagram. and they'll see it on the site itself. So I'm just out there.
Nice. How has this experience with Words for Charity affected your focus as a writer and as an individual?
It made me able to say that I was a writer. You know, you always wait for that to see yourself in print. I cannot even begin to express how I felt when I downloaded it to my iPad and I opened it up and I saw it. I was like, oh my God, I'm a writer. So I thought that was a wonderful thing, and I think everybody should have that experience.
Wonderful. What advice would you give to the next round of story donors?
My advice would be, as I said, to make sure that you don't wait till the last minute to get your submission in. Even though, you know, they have a submission date, get it in as soon as you can to give people that opportunity to read your work, to download it before the end. And I would also suggest make sure that you let them know that you want to be a part of their grant program. Don't ignore that part.
What's next for Carolyn?
Well, there are a couple of things on the horizon. I am working on several short stories, trying to put together a short story collection. I'm working on that. I'm working on my thesis, which will be a novel in the end. And I'm trying to put together a program for senior citizens, a writing workshop for senior citizens that I can take around to various senior citizens' homes. And hopefully they will give me stories I can submit.
Very nice. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts, this has been an unbelievable experience, and I would suggest everyone that aspires to be a writer and has a heart for charity that they try to be a part of Words for Charity.
Thank you.